Fourth stop of the NWT is done. We are back home. Feels good to be home. It was a long, grindy week. Put in long hours. We leave camp at 4 o'clock each morning, and we didn't get back to camp till 9 o'clock at night, and just put the time in on the water, trying to break down the spite. We're doing the NWT. We did the full season, first time this year. I didn't have any teammates. Nobody joined with me, so just me out there. So knew I had to put in twice as much work as everybody else to have a shot, and got pretty grindy out there all year, and was really hoping to make the championship and do it one more time, but we didn't make the cut. We fell just short. We ended up just outside with 46 or 51st place for team of the year, and kind of hurts a little bit. I always go to win. Just really wanted to go get it, but just didn't play out for me. So we had a bad showing in Oahe, and that kind of really set the stage for me falling short. So we went out, after Oahe, we knew we needed a top 20 in the last two events to even have an opportunity to get there to the championship. And we went up in Beta Knox out of Gladstone, and we got our top 20. We hit our goal and rolled into this last one, and really needed that top 20 just to have an opportunity. And I think we were on the right fish. We just didn't execute on game day, and we fell a little short. We ended up 46th place with 72 pounds and 15 ounces, which is typically on the Green Bay. That would put you right in there. We were historic, went off history, and thought we had the right fish, and turns out we didn't. That the whole bay just showed up, and that's kind of what we've seen during pre-fish. Is everywhere we stopped, it was 8-9 pounders. And just kind of had to make a decision on where we wanted to land, and we landed there. We fished them hard, and we just ultimately didn't get the bites we needed, and we just didn't adjust fast enough. So a couple takeaways for me is probably just got to move a little more if it's not going, and instead of trying to force what I think I got. But so during the tournament pre-fish out of Oconto, we primarily focused north. We did do a little bit of south stuff. We had some weed fish going down there, and they're big. They're 9 pounders, 10 pounders, and but there's a lot of boats kind of searching around in there, and knew it was being crowded. And me as an angler, when I get around crowds, it's a mental game for me, and I get a little less fishy, and kind of lose my focus. So my goal every tournament is try to find stuff that nobody else found, and try to be out by myself, and I just fish a lot better, a lot cleaner that way. So decided not to go in there. Hindsight's 2020. Probably should have made that adjustment, and dealt with the pressure, but it's just not how I fish and not how I want to fish. So I decided not to do that. So we ran north. We had good fish going up there. Pre-fishing, we were sitting anywhere around 48 to 40 pounds fishing up there. Yeah, I knew we could get them, or thought we could get them anyways, and sit around that 40 pounds each day or better. So we made the long run north during the tournament, and it was kind of a little gamble because 2 days before the tournament there was a north wind, set up the north currents. And anytime you get the north currents coming in on Green Bay, it moves them fish. They get a little more moody. They're not so bitey. All pre-fish, we had the south currents, which really gets them going. That's bringing that warmer, dirtier water out there. And, you can get a little closer to the boat with them. They're a little less finicky. But with that north current, that clean water, and that pressure from the restricted boundaries in Green Bay, it made them really tough to get them to bite. So day one we went up, ran 45 miles north and set up on our humps, and we were all alone. It was good. Right away we popped like a 7.15 that we put in the box, and then we got a 8.6, and then we went and then we got a 10.8, and that was all by 10 o'clock in the morning. And our hopes were high, and kind of grounded out a little bit there. And we were still marking the fish, and we couldn't get them even to activate at that time. And we kind of noticed that there was a bite window that it ended around 10 o'clock, and then it picked back up around 1 or 2. But with the winds blowing the way they were, we knew, if we waited till that bite window at 1 or 2, we were boat number 10. We had to be in at 3. We wouldn't be able to make that run back, and we'd definitely kill our fish if we pushed it hard. So we made the hard decision to leave that location and get a little closer with that wind and try to get a couple just decent ones with that bait we got, just to set us up for day 2. You can't win it day 1, but you sure can lose it. So we played a little safe, and we ran down south, and our fish that we had down south going, they kind of repositioned, and we searched around for them. We just couldn't get back on the bigger fish. So half hour left in the day, we put in 2 4-pounders and made a run in. And it just it is what it is. We ended up with 36 pounds and some odd ounces, and set us up for like 51st place. But the weights were tight, and we left the door open for a run up to top 20. I think we were only 2 pounds out of that at that time. So day 2, with that whole south wind blowing all day 1, we figured we could run up and get a couple more fish, and then we just weren't going to run back south. We were going to run some other structure that I had where we got some good fish. So ultimately our patterns ended up being kind of where the first place came out of and second place was sitting in. Was 2 of our stopping points, and we decided to be respectful. We left them areas alone, and didn't want to go crowd on their fish and go get our own. So anyways, we ran back up 46 miles or whatever it was up to our starting point, got in there, and it was loaded with fish. There was big fish on the outsides of the humps, and as many 7-pounders as you could catch on the inside of the humps. So we boxed 3 just under 8 pounds, and then we threw back a couple 7-pounders, 6-pounders, and was kind of right on the edge of what do we do? Do we sit here and wait for them bigger ones to fire, or do we start running our spots? And ultimately we decided to start running our spots, and we took off. We ran up to some fish that we were getting out in a basin. It was like 36 feet of water, and they're just chasing alewives out there. So it's just open water fishing. We put down the trolling motors. We were running on 10 all day, and we'd come up on the big schools of alewives. Then once you've seen them, you'd kind of scan in them, and you'd see a couple fish inside the schools of alewives eating. And if you could get your crawlers, we were throwing jigs and crawlers at that time, to land right on them, you could get them to activate. And we got 3 bites there, and they all came unpinned. So we were letting them eat them, trying to let them get it down, and they were just short eating it. They were just hanging the crawler out of their mouth, and it just didn't go for us. So with about an hour and a half left, we decided to leave that spot. We ran down to another location up tied along a shoreline that had a bunch of bait fish during pre-fish, and figured the fish were going to show up there in a big way after them south winds, and they were there. We got an 8-2. The minute we dropped our trolling motor down, there was a pot of 6 casted on them, and got that 8-2. Then we we searched around that area. We ended up catching 3 more catfish off that area, and then the bait kind of dissipated as we kept going down that shoreline, and just never seen another mark. So with a half hour left, we were sitting with only 4 fish. We made a run down to where we had some sandfish up in 8 feet of water. And when it gets flat calm on the bay, these fish for some reason pile up into the sand flat, and they're always there. So we went down there, pulled up on the sand flat, and it was just hundreds and hundreds of fish. And they're all good marks, but 6, 7-pounders. So made one cast with a hair jig into that school, one reel, and it was on. We got a just under a 7-pounder, threw that in the box and we had to go weigh in. So made the long run in and, ended up with 36 pounds, 14 ounces. We did have a dead fish in there and it just ended up, 46th place. So all in all, it's good. Takeaways, that current adjustment. I think, looking back, I just got to pay a little more attention to the current. As that north current comes in, it cools down the bay, brings in a little cleaner water, and then fish just get a little more moody. And we kind of knew that. Figured with that south wind, it would set them back up, and it put them back in there, but they were still a little off, and they just weren't eating. There is locations where that north current helps, and I think in that transitional period, just being a little more mobile. Probably sat on some of the fish a little too long, but then also, day one we probably didn't soak it long enough. So, ultimately what we used, we're with that pressured fish and with that north current, you got to stay away like 90 feet, 100 feet. So we were casting, we had Trika rods in the 7.6s. You can really get them baits out there. So we were making, accurate casts at 80, 90 feet was key to get bit. Once the fish got within 70 feet, you might as well quit reeling. We never got any of them to activate. We throw a couple different things, quarter ounce tungsten jigs or, little blade spinny blades, with a little flasher on it. Gets a lot of bites up there, gold color. We threw pretty much a tackle box at them fish up there, trying to get them to go. We threw some slow death rigs and all that, but it really seemed like they wanted either the flutter just on a jig head or just a plain jig head on a crawler. Our shallow bite was hair jigs, just ripping them through there. And that's a typical bite out in Green Bay. But really them Trika rods were huge for making them long casts, accurate casts, and then feeling them. If they just weren't eating them good, but the ones that ate them good, we kept them pinned all the way to the boat and, threw out the pre-fish, and we had to have boat had 30, 40 fish over 8 pounds, and just an amazing pre-fish, amazing fishery. Had a blast. Just didn't show up in the way we wanted to show up, but we earned a spot to fish next year. We'll see how it goes, see how the schedule goes, and how our schedule works out, and see if we can go play again. But all in all, had a blast. Fish solo throughout the whole tournament. Didn't have any teams, so just knew I really had to push it harder than everybody else. We were up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, out fishing. We weren't getting back to our cabins till 9, 10 o'clock at night every night, and just had to cover water to break down these large systems by yourself, and it takes a toll on you. Worn out. Said I can't do it again for the championship, but also on the hindsight, ready to spend some time with my family and kind of get refocused here. We got a couple other tournaments. We got Battle in the Bay coming up here in 2 weeks. Looking forward to getting back out on the bay and get back on the fish and take away what I took away from this tournament, and do a little better. So, that's the whole goal, is just to get better every tournament, every day you go fishing. The only way you can get better is time on the water, and practice makes perfect, right? So just keep on grinding and keep on going, and we're going to stick around. So we're just going to keep breaking down water as we fish them. We're going to share it on our TikTok page and Facebook pages, and we'll start a YouTube video page here, and just try to give back. When I came up fishing, I really didn't get into fishing until I was a little older. In my 20s, I fished a lot as a kid, and then kind of got sidetracked and started chasing money, and kind of got out of fishing. Putting 16, 17-hour work days in, and didn't 7 days a week, and didn't give time to fishing. So, kind of banked up some money, got my boat, and as I transitioned to living at home, got off the road and really could start focusing on chasing my dream here with fishing. The YouTube, all the content out there really helped progress me as an angler and learn. Um, I did get into some fishing groups in the MWC that taught me a ton, but a lot was just watching content, learning, and then time on the water. So just figured maybe it's time to start giving back and help others out. And feel free to message me, hit me up if you have questions, want to talk, want to learn. We're gonna share some videos. We're gonna try to keep filming, try to keep some content up. So feel free to follow. Share the content as we grow. Maybe we can hit me up with what you want to see, what you want to do, what we can do better, and just looking forward to being part of this industry and try to grow it, try to grow the sport, and try to be a player in it. So